Well, I already discussed those things. Revisit your code, code validation, code cleanness. Code cleanness means like if you're writing too much spaces, like too much spaces here, this is not like a code cleanness things, right? Or writing a huge paragraph here about the comment. It is fine, but sometimes it is hard for me to read, hard for the layman user to read. What does that mean? So those are the code cleanness. Checking all rubric before you submit your code that you follow all of the rubrics, you have satisfied all of the rubrics, you run your code, and after only that time you can submit your project. I'm glad that most of you have submitted your project, like most of you have tested your project before submitting is because I'm able to run all of your code. That means there is no error on your code. I can easily run your code perfectly without any error. But previously, I found some of the students submitted their code and it is not runnable. There are some errors. They thought, well, at least I have to submit something. But that doesn't make any sense to me. If you're submitting something and it is not runnable, I cannot see what you are delivering to me. Right? That's a good thing. So yeah, before submitting a project, you need to do all of those things from next onward project, at least like code validation, code cleanness, revisiting your code. Checking all rubric is the basic thing that you already have done for the project one as well. Okay, so we're done for the project one. Now the conditional. What is it? What is a conditional thing? What does it mean by a condition? If there is cloudy, it might be rainy, right? Else, it could be snowy, but it cannot be sunny, right? Maybe in the afternoon time, but not at that particular time. That means there's some condition. If there is something, if there is a rain, then it is not snowing, right? Or maybe if there is a sun, it is not snowing sometimes, but not all the time, right?
If cloud cover is above 50%, then it's not sunny.
Not sun, yeah. Because if cloud covers 50%, more than 50%, it is not sunny. And we have two different stands. So whenever we are writing our code, we may have some type of thing like we have two or more stands. So right now, what we are doing, we're just writing our code, and our interpreted language like Python executed that code line by line. For example, like this one. For example, maybe what we have written is the good example. Like our project. So it is executing line by line until the end of the line. But that cannot be the case for all of your coding time. If you have something like, well, I have a condition, then I need to branch my code. I need to divert the execution of the code in a different way or the same way, right? So this is basically a condition. So in Python, we'll be using an if statement. And as I told you, whenever you are using any new concept, you need to know the syntax, like grammar, right? If I'm asking you, well, do you know what is a past participle thing? I don't know. Or if I ask you, well, you need to learn past participle, how you can write a gerund. Then you need to know the grammar of gerund, right? How to use the gerund, how to use the past participle, like the syntax in English grammar. The same thing in programming. Whenever we're using a new concept, I need to know the syntax. And what's the semantic? That means when you write your code, that makes sense. Okay, so this is the syntax of an if statement. What's the syntax? If is the keyword. What does it mean by the keyword? there are some reserved words for the Python that can be used as a keyword. And it is advised that you cannot use those keywords as a variable name. What after the if keyword? A Boolean expression. Again, what's the Boolean expression?
True or false?
That means it returns true or false, right? A Boolean expression consists of Boolean operators and it returns either true or false. That means after the if block, it will return either true or false. Like if it is true, then we'll go to that block. If it is not true, then we'll not going to that block. That makes more sense, right? So here is a Boolean expression. 5 is greater than 4. Is it true or false? True, right? So if it is true, then there is a colon. As I told you, colon means like we're starting a block of codes. That means the next onward lines are under this if block. And how I can determine those things? Well, there's like 4 space indented or a tab indented. You can see here, the last line is not indented. That means it is not under the if block. So this is basically called a falling through. Like regardless of this execution, it will print this line. If this condition satisfies, then it prints the block statements. What are the block statements? Like 2 print lines. So whenever it executes, like it satisfies, it prints those lines. And regardless of anything, it will print these. Okay, so you need to know the syntax. If a Boolean expression, a colon, and the block code should be indented. Okay, this is like a fast variation. Like I'm just branching my code. So let me write some code. So I'm writing some code here. Hi there. If 5 is greater than 4, you are all set. Print. I'm always here. Okay, so how it works? The first line, hi there. The second line is a condition. That means if the condition satisfies, only then we will execute line number 4. If it is not, then I don't need to go to line number 4. What's the line number 5? Line number 5 is not under the if block. That means regardless of anything, first line and the 5th line will be executed. And if this condition is satisfied, then we'll print the line number 3. Right? So let me visualize this code so that it makes more sense. This is like a true statement, right? So instead of 5 and 4, I'm just writing op1 and op2, okay? And I'm getting those op1 and op2 from the input function. Okay. Okay, I will close this one. Okay. Op1 value is like 10, for example. Op2 value is 20. So you can see here, this is the variable op1. Op1 is assigned to 10. Then op2 is assigned to 20. Now, here's the case. Op1 is greater than op2. Is 10 is greater than op20? Is 10 is greater than 20? No, it is not, right? Let's see. Just jump to here. Print it here. Let me rerun this code. I need to execute it again. So op1 is 20 and op2 is 10. It is still line number 4, but it's satisfied. Then it goes to here. It prints, and this is like a falling through. Regardless of anything, it prints. Okay? This is how it works, the conditionals. So if you're not sure how your code is working, just visualize your code here. That make more sense to you. Sometimes you're not sure whether this condition is satisfying or not. Then you run it here. Okay? Any question? This is the fast if variation, like just I'm branching. If it is satisfying, it goes to that direction, do that operation, come back again. This is the fast variation. The second variation is like if and else. If it is not going to that direction, like a try and except. Trying this, if it is not, it goes to the except. Right? So let me write some code here. If, okay, let me write it here. So the first message is like, Boolean expression. In the else case, you don't know Boolean expression. I'm just printing 2 lines. My condition is like, I ask you to add, like enter the highest number as an op1 variable and lowest number for op2 variable. If you know that, then you know Boolean expression. If you're doing the reverse way or equal value, that you don't know the Boolean expression. That's what I have written here. If you know these things, then print this one. Otherwise, it will print that. Let me print. So op1, so I know Boolean expression. So op1 is higher number, op2 is low. Oh, sorry. Op1 is higher number and op2 is lower number. It will print. It goes here to check the expression. And since it is satisfying, it prints, Boolean expression. And as a falling through, it goes here. It never goes to else. It goes either if or else, not in both. Now it's time I don't know Boolean expression. So op1 is 10 and op2 is 20. It goes here to check. If it is not true, it goes to the else case and print you don't know Boolean expression. And as a falling through, it always print this line. That means I am creating 2 branches. Previously, I have like 1 branch. If it is true, go there, do some operation, come back again. Now I have like 2 branches. If it is true, go there, do some operation, come here. If it is not, go the other way. Not go to the falling through. Either this or that, and then come back again. This is the second variation of if block, conditional. The first one is like if, just the if, there is no else. And the second variation is like if and else clause. If it is not true, so it will go either way, if or else. But sometimes we may have like multiple conditions. What are the multiple conditions? Multiple condition is like if your, what can be a good example? Let me write something. I'm just asking your grade. Enter grade. If the grade is greater than 80, then your grade is what? B. Else, if your grade is greater than 80, then it is B. Else,
Not a B.
not a B. It could be C. It could be D. It could be E, right? Like multiple option. Like one else cannot be satisfying things here. Like they're like multiple conditions. That means I need to write multiple else's. How I can write a multiple else's? Well, in case of multiple else's, we need to write else if. Again, we'll be checking those things, but it's an else case. So else if altogether is like elif. Again, for the else case, else clause, there is no Boolean expression. But for the elif, you need to write some Boolean expression. So if grade is less than 80, so first one is like greater than 80, right? If it is less than 80, it could be greater than 70. We'll be checking again. Is it greater than 70? If it is, then you are the C. There are some other cases. Elif, if your grade is greater than 60, then you have a D. Elif, if your grade is less than 60, then your grade is E. Right? So what I'm writing here, like 4 different cases. The first one, it goes, if it is greater than 80, then just print B. But it's still not true, right? Like if you have like 95, you're not B. You're at the A, right? So just forget it. Just we're discussing about like less than 80. If it is greater than 80, you're B. If it is less than 80, you could have greater than 70, greater than 60, or maybe less than 60. Let me run this code. So if it is 81, I am not using Octo, so don't worry. What's that?
You entered null for, and it tried to convert to int.
So what I need to do, I need to remove this line. It's better.
Oh.
Thank you. Okay. So grade 81, it is B. So it is checking this line. It is B, then done. You rerun it. If it is 79, is it greater than 80? No, it is not. It goes to the next if. Is it greater than 70? It is. Print C, then done. Now, how about 61? Is it greater than 80? No, it is not. Is it greater than 70? No, it is not. Is it greater than 60? It is. Print D, then done. Right? Now, I could rewrite this code in a different way. What are the ways? If grade is greater than 80, print B. Then if grade is greater than 70, so what I can do, I can just copy those things. And instead of elif, I'm writing multiple if. Like a separate if block. So this one is like if elif block, and this is like a separate if block. I'm writing 4 if blocks. Okay. I'm just hiding this line.
He's no longer there.
What's that?
He's no longer there. He like goes.
Oh. This is falling through. Is there? So let me visualize this code for the 61, okay? 61. It goes here, not true. Goes there, not true. Goes there. It is true. Print. It goes here. It's not true. And falling through. Can you see the difference between those two? Or do I need to rerun it? Let me rerun it. Okay. So let's try with the multiple if cases, okay, for the 61. 61. It goes here, not true. Goes here, not true. Goes here, not true. Goes, yes, true, actually. Print D. Then again, goes here, not true. Print here. Let me rerun the other code. $61. It goes there, not true. Goes there, not true. Goes there, true. Print D, falling through. Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
If it's at like 81, won't it print numbers?
Which one?
If you set the grade at 81, won't it print multiple because it'll evaluate if it's higher than 70?
No, I'm just asking, whenever I'm using 61, what are the differences? You can see. Can you see the difference?
One of them runs one line of code and the other one skips all the way down to the bottom.
Whenever it satisfies, it just jumps to the bottom. For the if-elif case, you can see here, when it satisfies, it never goes to the next if. It just satisfied, prints, and jump to the falling through. But for here, it checks all of the if cases. Even if it satisfies here, it also checks this one. Here, it doesn't. That's the difference. Make sense? So if you need to write multiple if cases, you could write this way, but it is not efficient. It's because sometimes you need to check unnecessary checking. But here, whenever it's satisfied, it just jumps to the falling through. This is more efficient. Okay, but there's some like issues here, like what he told. If it is a number of like 81, what do you think? What is the 81? B. That's it. Okay, let me run it. $81B, done. Let me run this code. $81B. Checks here. 81 is greater than 70, right? It's C. Well, no, I'm not C, but it is greater than 70. Still, you're greater than 70. Still, you're greater than 80, 60, but not less than 60. So your grade is BCD. What does that mean? My point is 81. I should get a B, but you're giving me BCD. Okay. So that's the one of the other issues whenever you are using multiple if in this way, like if. In case of multiple if, it's better to use if-elif. It is more efficient and hassle-free. Think about if you're writing this way, you need to write a lot of other cases to make it B, right? At least you need to check it here like, well, it is greater than 70, but make sure it is less than, oh no. Yeah, it is less than 79. Only then it is a C, right? That means you need to add another condition, but I'll be discussing later what is combination of like combination conditionals, combined conditionals. When you need to add multiple condition in one statement, one Boolean expression. You remember this one, right? The last class I have discussed this. Like multiple Boolean expression here, right? This is the first expression, this is the second expression, and we are adding those two. That means we need to add those two things here. How I can rewrite my code here? So if it is greater than 70 and it is less than 79, only then it is a C. But 81 is not less than 71. Now run it for the 81. For 81, it is true. Print B. For this one, it is not true, right? It is greater than 70, but not less than 71. It is not satisfying. Because we need to rewrite this code again here. We're getting D here as well, but it is not true. So let me rewrite this code. And the grade is less than 69. Now you can see for the 81, it is always a B grade. But still it is checking. But for the if elif, it will not. Whenever it's satisfied, it just go to the following through. But in case of your multiple if cases, it will check all of the if cases. If you have like 100 if case, and if it takes like 1 millisecond, it will take like 10 millisecond extra time to run your code. Well, 10 millisecond is not too much, but if it is like a bigger code, it will take a longer time.
Especially if it's in a loop.
Yeah, like if it is a loop, then it will take a longer time. I will be discussing loop in next class. So what else we have here? Well, the syntax for if else is like this. I already have written the code. If, then the Boolean expression just like an if block, but there is an else, colon, there is no Boolean expression after the else. And what's the difference between if and if else? If is like one branch, if else is like two branches. And these are the semantic, how it works. If it true, if it is true, go to the true branch. If it is a false, go to the false branch. And always there's the falling through if there are some falling through code like this. So there is the diamond shape here, right? Like a condition. If it is true, go to the if block. If it is false, it goes to the else block. Either way, it goes to the end, like a falling through. If, elif, else, so multiple if. Now, I missed one thing here, like in case your grade is like none of those values, like here we have greater than 80. So B grade is greater than 80 and less than 89, right? Then it's a B grade. How about a number of 1, 1? It is not a B grade, right? It's not a C grade. It's not a D grade. It's a C grade, but if we see if I rewrite this code in this way, like, well, grade is greater than 70 and less than 79, greater than 60 and less than 69, then we don't have any value for the 1, 1.
6 key broke.
We don't have any value for the 1, 1. So what we need to do, we need to write an else case. Like if none of them are satisfying, then we need to use an else case. What's an else case? Again, for the else case, we are not using any Boolean expression, just the else. Else, invalid. For our case, maybe 1, 1 is an invalid number. So it will go to the invalid number. What's the problem? So maybe 1001. It goes to the else case. None of them are satisfying. It's an invalid number. So this is like an if, elif, else block. So this is like a falling through for that if block. Okay. These are the semantic for the if, elif, else, and I already discussed the multiple if versus the elif. Which one is more efficient? Definitely, elif is more efficient. Is because whenever you are done with any condition, it just go to the falling through. And for the multiple if, it will check all of the if cases. And I already have discussed the visualization things, Python tutor. Okay, compound conditions, that what I have just written, like this is the first condition, and you need to add another condition by using a connective operator. What are the connective operators? And or, right? I told you. What are the and operator? When both are true, then it is true. When any of them is false, and will return a false. The reverse one for the or is when anyone is true, then the whole expression is true. When all of them are false, only then it is false, right? And one thing I need to discuss next class is the nested condition. Okay. Any question for the conditionals? So the first thing for the next class is like we will rewrite our code with the if condition, rewrite our project solution with if block so that it is more valid number. Like it is not greater than 2. It is not less than 2. It should be more than 2 numbers. The tree should be more than 2 numbers, right? And the unit should be at least divisible number. If it is the negative number, or like still, the first one cannot be a negative number. We'll check those things later on. So we'll use conditional to validate our code. Okay. Any question? Okay. So we'll meet next class here again, and we'll be discussing the nested conditional first.